Imagine a lion running for leadership of the animal kingdom. During the campaign, he promises the sheep he'll become a vegetarian. The sheep, moved by his words of unity and peace, elect him as their king. 3 months later, half the sheep are gone. This isn't a fable. It's history, repeated endlessly. The incompetent, the corrupt, the charming, rising to power while the capable watch from below. Machiavelli warned us, power doesn't belong to the worthy. It belongs to the cunning. Have you seen these patterns in your own world? At work, in politics, or society? Share your thoughts below. And if this opened your eyes, subscribe, because next, we'll explore the subtle art of defending yourself against psychological manipulation in the modern age. Have you ever looked at someone in power and wondered, how on earth did they get there? We've all seen it. People who seem completely unqualified rising to positions of authority, while the genuinely capable remain in the shadows. It's not just history. It's human nature. Think of Emperor Nero, fiddling while Rome burned, or in modern times, Elizabeth Holmes, who built $1 billion empire on a technology that never worked. It's a pattern so familiar it almost feels intentional. But what if it is? What if there's a hidden logic behind why the least qualified so often end up with the most influence? Today, we're exploring one of history's most misunderstood minds, Machiavelli, and his brutal insight into why stupidity and power so often walk hand in hand. But this isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a psychological pattern that still defines the modern world, from corporate boardrooms to political offices, and understanding it might just be the key to recognizing and resisting the forces that quietly shape our society. Machiavelli and the reality of power. In 16th century Florence, after being exiled from the political life he loved, Machiavelli wrote The Prince, one of the most controversial political texts ever created. Unlike idealists before him, Machiavelli didn't ask how rulers should behave. He asked how power actually works. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. That sentence alone captures the essence of political survival. Perception matters more than truth. In the struggle for influence, appearance often outweighs ability, and here lies the first clue to our paradox. Appearing competent can matter far more than being competent. The intelligence trap. Machiavelli observed that leaders who display too much intelligence often create their own problems. Why? Because intelligence brings traits that can be liabilities in the game of power: nuance, self-awareness, ethical hesitation. Smart people see complexity where others see simplicity. They doubt themselves where others shout with confidence. They hesitate, not because they're weak, but because they see too many variables. But in politics and power, hesitation is deadly. Power doesn't reward accuracy. It rewards conviction. Consider Socrates. He questioned everything. He sought truth above all else, but in doing so, he challenged the ignorance of his society and was executed for it. His wisdom made him immortal in philosophy, but powerless in politics. Meanwhile, history's populists, those who promised simple answers, often rose to power precisely because they refused to think deeply. Even science supports this paradox. A 2017 study in the Journal of Management found that intelligence correlates with leadership ability, but only up to a point. Beyond an IQ of about 120, additional intelligence becomes a liability. Exceptionally smart people struggle to connect with and influence others who can't keep up with their complexity. In short, sometimes being too smart makes it harder to lead, because the crowd doesn't follow complexity. It follows clarity, the confidence illusion. So if intelligence isn't what gets people to the top, what does? The answer lies in a psychological bias Machiavelli would have recognized immediately: the Dunning-Kruger effect. In the 1990s, Psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger discovered that people with low competence tend to overestimate their abilities, while the truly skilled tend to underestimate theirs. The fool believes he is wise. The wise man knows himself to be a fool. And in group settings, confidence often beats competence. A 2020 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology confirmed that individuals who displayed overconfidence were more likely to be perceived as leaders, regardless of actual skill. The illusion of certainty was more persuasive than real expertise. Look around. The loudest voices in the room often command the most attention. In politics, in business, in media, confidence becomes currency. It's how Adam Newman raised billions for We Work with nothing but charisma and grand promises. It's how Japan's Masayoshi Son lost $70 billion on bad bets, yet retained investor faith through sheer force of personality. It's how countless incompetent leaders ascend, not through merit, but through certainty. Because the human mind mistakes confidence for competence. The network of incompetence Machiavelli noticed another timeless truth about power. Incompetent rulers don't just rise, they multiply. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. The weak leaders fear capable subordinates, so they surround themselves with weaker ones, loyal, flattering, and non-threatening. This creates what modern psychology calls a competence cascade, where every level of leadership becomes slightly less capable than the one above it. Over time, incompetence becomes institutionalized. It's not just a person anymore, it's the system itself. You've probably seen this. A workplace where speaking up is punished, where questioning authority is labeled as not being a team player. That's not bad luck. That's Machiavelli's law of self-preservation at work, the psychology of certainty. But even knowing this, why do we still keep choosing the wrong people? Why do we follow leaders who offer simple answers to complex problems? The answer lies in a deep psychological need, the need for cognitive closure. Our brains crave certainty in a chaotic world. When life feels uncertain, we cling to anyone who promises clarity, even if it's false clarity. Real experts speak with nuance and hesitation. Charlatans speak with absolutes. And in the battle between truth and certainty, certainty wins. Machiavelli knew this long before modern psychology confirmed it. Men are more often influenced by the things that seem than by those that are. We crave the comfort of simple illusions over the discomfort of complex truths. That's why populism, conspiracy, and authoritarianism thrive during times of crisis. They provide emotional relief, not intellectual accuracy. Morality as a handicap. Now we reach Machiavelli's most controversial lesson. He wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good, and use this knowledge when necessity demands." To most people, that sounds evil, but Machiavelli wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was describing reality. In any power struggle, the person willing to cross ethical lines has access to tactics the moral person will never use. They can deceive, manipulate, betray, while the ethical hesitate. It's a race to the bottom, and the ruthless often win because others refuse to stoop to their level. Cicero was brilliant and principled, but lost to Julius Caesar, who wasn't bound by principle at all. In our world, psychopathic charm and moral flexibility still dominate. A University of British Columbia study even found that individuals with psychopathic traits, when paired with charisma, rise faster in organizations than ethical peers. Machiavelli understood morality limits power unless the system itself rewards morality. Why systems fail? Some systems are built to expose incompetence. Others are built to protect it. Fields with clear feedback, like engineering or medicine, punish failure immediately. But politics and corporations operate with delayed or diffused feedback. Blame can be shifted, Results can be manipulated, and charisma can hide disaster for years. The more centralized a system, the less accountability it has, and the more incompetence it breeds. The more complex and opaque it becomes, the easier it is for style to defeat substance, and when short-term profit or popularity are rewarded over long-term results, incompetence becomes inevitable. The psychological arsenal of the incompetent, once in power. Incompetent leaders use psychological tactics to stay there. Machiavelli recognized them long before modern psychology named them. Tribal division. They create versus them. Criticism becomes treason. Followers fuse their identity with the leaders, defending him as if defending themselves. Chaos and distraction. They flood the environment with crisis and outrage. When everyone's exhausted, no one has the energy for accountability, contradiction and confusion. They constantly shift narratives, making truth feel subjective. When facts lose meaning, manipulation becomes effortless. Economic fear. They exploit insecurity. A fearful population will cling to even the most incompetent protector. The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances. Machiavelli wrote, he wasn't mocking humanity, he was diagnosing its vulnerability. The way out, so what can we do? The antidote begins with awareness. At the individual level, cultivate intellectual humility. Admit what you don't know. It's not weakness, it's mental armor. Research shows humble thinkers are less vulnerable to manipulation. Develop media discipline. In an age of noise, attention is power. Warren Buffett said, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Apply that to your information diet. Practice reflection. The Stoics believed in daily self-examination to stay grounded amidst chaos. Reflection is rebellion in a world built on reaction. At the system level, enforce accountability. Systems need feedback loops that punish failure, not loyalty. Encourage cognitive diversity. Surround decision makers with people who think differently, not those who simply agree. Demand transparency. Light is the enemy of corruption. Secrecy is the shield of incompetence. Conclusion: Machiavelli has been misunderstood for centuries. He wasn't praising manipulation. He was exposing it. He wanted us to understand power as it truly is, so we could use that knowledge to build better systems. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Authority deserves respect only when it's used wisely, and while stupidity and corruption may rise, intelligence, paired with courage and integrity, remains humanity's only real hope. So look around your world. Notice the patterns. And remember, understanding the darkness doesn't mean surrendering to it. It means gaining the power to create light.